Welcome back to the Four Wide Fantasy Football Podcast. We are back, all four of us. The handsome one is back, Olu, and we're so happy that our Four Wide Fantasy Huddle is back with us. Thank you so much for joining us yet again. We are here, episode 7. We've done this now for 8 weeks, guys. 8 weeks. We haven't given up. We're back. And, you know, it's so funny. I listen to all these other podcasts, and when I'm driving in my car, all these other fantasy and dynasty podcasts, and some of them are very insightful, but they're just not as exciting as us. Your co-hosts, Matt, Shed, Will, and Olu, we're back in again. Guys, moment of shine. Shed, say something, man.
Welcome. So my moment to shine is I'm going to talk about my Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings may be able to actually make the playoffs. Yep. Currently, they are one spot removed from being a wild card team at number 7, believe it or not. They are actually 3-4 in the last 4 weeks and only 1 turnover in the last 3 games versus they've had multiple turnovers in the first 4 games. Eventually, they'll settle down, won't be turning the ball over, and they'll be able to cut down on some of these turnovers and self-inflicted wounds. Their schedule moving forward is very, very favorable for them, right? They have the Packers, Falcons, Saints, Broncos bye week, and then the Raiders. Believe in them. I believe in the Vikings over the 3rd seed in the East, which is Washington, 3rd seed in the South, which is going to be the Saints and the Bucks, and they're right there with the Rams. So I see them competing for that 7th wild card spot. Believe it or not, they're there.
Who wants to go next?
All right. For Henry, that'll be amazing.
Oh, my gosh. All right. See, I got to go next after that, okay? Y'all know, I mean, the listeners know by now, I'm a Tennessee Titans fan.
That's right. Don't give up. Never give up.
I talked already last week about this, but it actually has gotten worse. This is the thing about being a Titans fan. Week 7 was our bye week, and we lost the bye week. And I'm going to tell you how we lost the bye week. So last summer during the NFL draft, right, or last spring, whatever, 2022, we trade A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL, to the Philadelphia Eagles for a first-round pick who turned into Treylon Burks, who has done nothing in a year and a half. That man has more injuries than he has career receptions at this point. Okay? Oh, wow. That's what we did with A.J. Brown. And then today I wake up, wipe the sleep from my eyes, and I see this alert that we have traded our all-pro safety Kevin Byard to the same team, the Philadelphia Eagles, for a 5th and 6th round pick, and I don't even know a respectful way to put this, the extremely less talented Terrell Edmonds, who's not even really a safety. He's like that hybrid role. We're just giving away our best players to the Philadelphia Eagles. Then I see later on that everyone's on the table for the Titans, including DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry. As we're preparing for our Week 8 game, Mike Vrabel comes out and says, if Tannehill can't go, we're going to use 2 backup quarterbacks. Malik Willis and Will Levis are both going to play. So that's an automatic loss. It's just we had a bye week and lost the bye week. That's how bad the Titans are right now.
Is this how I sound when I rant about the Giants?
Yes.
This is hilarious. I'm so
miserable.
sorry. Sorry I'm laughing at your misery, but
oh, man, it's horrible. I got to say one quick thing, though, to Shed's point about the Vikings. The Vikings might have surpassed the Steelers as the best team at drafting wide receivers. Because it was the Steelers for a long time. But the Vikings sit on Justin Jefferson, who was the 4th receiver taken in that class. And then they hit on Addison, who I think was the 3rd receiver taken this year.
Yeah, but it was hard to miss on Addison with the 3rd receiver taken, though.
It
is, but the Chargers and the Seahawks didn't take him, right? I think JSN and Quentin Johnston went before Addison, and then Zay Flowers.
Never taking Quentin Johnston.
Should have never taken Quentin Johnston. So I guess they just get lucky. The Vikings have gotten lucky with these receivers falling to them.
Well, and look at this. They also drafted Randy Moss. They drafted Adrian Peterson. So the Vikings, they know how to.
We're going back in history here.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings know how to
Yeah.
draft wide receivers.
Hold on, we're not supposed to give each other we're not supposed to give rebuttals on people's 1 minute of shine. Like, come on, like just let the people talk. Olu, you're what? Because Olu's gonna say something, I'm gonna want to cut him off, but it's his 1 minute.
You're not. You're gonna love this. Okay, so my 1 minute shine. I can go so many places, but I have to give credit because I'm a big football fan. Okay, I love football. I'm a Brady fan. I love good football. I love quarterbacks that can play. That when you watch them on Thursday night, on Sunday night, Monday night, you're like, oh, this guy can play. And to be honest, lately there are no elite quarterback play. They just aren't. You know, it's not like back in the days. You have Breeze, you have Big Ben, you have Brady, you had Peyton Manning going at it. But in our league, in the league now, I don't think there are any elite. I'm talking about the Baba Yagas. You guys know what Baba Yaga?
Nobody cut him off.
No, do not.
We'll let you get to the end here.
Baba Yaga is. Okay, if you don't, I'll explain. Baba
Yes,
Yaga.
That's the John Wick nickname.
Yes, that's the guy you call to kill the boogeyman. That's the kind of quarterback I want, where they take the field and the whole fan base heart, the opponents, is in their mouth like, oh my God, Baba Yaga. That even when you're winning, you know you're not winning until the
Will you get to your point already?
I'll get to my point. There isn't that quarterback anymore. Justin Herbert is not that guy. Burrow looked like it was, but he's not. So now I have to give credit to the one person who's the elite quarterback. And I hate to do this. I hate it. Mahomes is that dude.
Okay, that's what we were waiting for.
He is. And I have to give it to him. Because when I watch him, I'm like, yo, sometimes he doesn't play that well. But this dude, like, he's going to kill you in a minute. Like, just wait for it. It's going to kill you. So for me, I respect elite quarterback play. He is the one elite quarterback currently present in the league. Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback, but obviously he's not playing. So for me, I appreciate good quarterback play. However, you guys do know how I actually feel about him. But I have to give him his credit.
Matt, don't do it. Give us your 1 minute, Matt. Don't do it. He can have that.
I'm going to break a rule. You didn't want to give the man his credit when he threw for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards his first year as a starter 5 years ago? Anyways, I'll stop.
The problem with that is you have the Baba Yagas, or Baba Yagas already in the league. No, it's not that. No.
All right, so my 1 minute of shine, of course, it comes from my New York Football Giants yet again. Now, here's the thing, and I never liked Daniel Jones until last year, and then I became a believer, and I started like Daniel Jones, and he did well. He beat Shed's Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs with a terrible roster, and then they signed him to a contract for $40 million, and everyone says, oh, Matt, what do you think about the contract? Blah, 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 blah. You have to sign the guy to the contract because it's market value, and then he comes out this year, and he stinks. Change his name from Danny Dimes to Danny Crimes because he stole money from the New York Giants. And then they throw Tyrod Taylor out there. The Giants, the New York Football Giants were so bad at one point. My 7-year-old son said to me, Dad, I could probably play for the New York Football Giants because my son is actually good at football. And so, but then they go out there and win. They go out there and win with Tyrod Taylor. Granted, they beat the Washington Commanders, but what do we do at quarterback now? You'll be hearing a lot more rants from Matt Weber, that's for sure. No clue, no idea. But we got 2 wins now. I think it's still the worst point differential in the league. What's that?
No, go for it.
I'm done. Okay, I'm done. We're gonna move on. Will. Oh wait, no. Before the injuries, just so you know, what's our episode? Will's going to do the injury roundup in just a minute. After that, we're going to talk about our biggest takeaways from week 7. Then what we're going to do, yet again, obviously, week 8, matchup to exploit, matchup to avoid. And then we're bringing it back, debate time. We called our segment last week debate time. I don't know if it really was a debate. It was more so what would you guys call it? Guess who the player is or something like that.
Yeah, it
But
was a
today,
blind review, right? Blind
review.
player.
There we
Yeah.
go. Based off their stats. But today, we are bringing back debate time. We'll have some fun, juicy stuff for you guys. Then, of course, single game mock draft. Got to bring it back yet again. Will, take us away for our injuries, man.
All right, I'm going to make this one quick. So first off, some new injuries from Week 7. Dawson Knox, tight end on the Bills, is actually going to have wrist surgery, so he'll be out for a few weeks. All those opportunities and targets are now going to be going to their first-round rookie, Dalton Kincaid. And then just an update for the Rams, because we didn't know this when we recorded last week. Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers are both on IR now, so they're out a minimum of 4 weeks. And we saw in the first game, Darrell Henderson took the majority of those snaps. Royce Freeman got a little bit. Zach Evans, nothing. So all those people that picked him up on waivers, that was a wasted roster spot for last week. DK Metcalf missed the Week 7 game. It looks like he might be out again this week, coming up with a ribs and hip injuries. Jerome Ford with an ankle sprain. He's out at least 1 to 2 weeks. So Kareem Hunt and Pierre Strong are going to get a lot more volume. And then just some new developments. Pat Freiermuth is on IR now for the Steelers, so he's out at least 4 more games. We're still waiting on news for Daniel Jones, for Deshaun Watson, and Justin Fields, who are all sort of day-to-day, week-to-week right now. And so obviously those teams are going to be playing backup quarterbacks if they don't make it. Guys, any thoughts on those injuries and how that's going to affect the other skill players on those teams?
I think that the interesting situation is going to be the running back room for the Rams.
Yeah.
I think, it just kind of depends who's the hot hand at the time, right? So that's going to be interesting for the next, 3 weeks or so until Kyron Williams comes back.
I think it's really interesting to see what's going to happen in Buffalo, because we finally got to see Dalton Kincaid. He's starting to come alive here. A lot of people had high aspirations for Dalton Kincaid. I think it's unfair to put high aspirations on a rookie tight end because we usually don't see them break out. But hey, Sam Laporta's having a great season, and now Dalton Kincaid, the highest drafted tight end from this year's class. He had a good game. He had a good game this past week.
He's going to show up now.
And let me also add, what was interesting last night, there was a JSN sighting last week, and he actually came out. So is that kind of like a thing to see moving forward, or is that just like a one-time thing? Because Metcalf is out again, right? So are we going to see JSN emerge again for the second week in a row?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit going ahead, but I believe so. For now, I'll say that. I believe so. Well, let's move on, guys. Segment number 2. Biggest takeaways from Week 7. We are now 7 weeks into the NFL season. We're starting to see who's real, who's not. We're getting a good idea of players who were drafted a certain place, if they were frauds or if they really were guys who are undervalued. And I think we're in week 2 of the buys, if I'm not mistaken, week 2 or week 3 of the bye week. So
no, they started in week 4.
Did they really?
There were buys in week 4. Is that right? I'm pretty sure. Or week 5.
I think it's 5.
Okay, so we've got 3 already. Right.
I want to say we're in the 3rd week of the buys.
Yeah.
Biggest takeaways, guys. Let's talk about it. Shed, why don't you go first?
All right, so I have concluded, and Olu kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I've concluded that Justin Herbert is not elite. Justin Herbert is not one of the elite QBs. Like, I'm talking about elite. He still has much to be desired. Yes, elite talent, right? And I'll tell you why. Yet another loss this past week with poor quarterback play. He had 259 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interception, with a QBR of 47.2, which is below average, compared to Mahomes, who had 424 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception with a QBR of 92. So probably almost double the QBR rating. Herbert has your typical quarterback profile, right? The physique, the skill sets. He generally gives you good number. But it seems like he's missing the intangibles, the ability to put it together when it counts. Since entering the league in 2020, he has the most fourth quarter interceptions in the league. Since 2020, most fourth quarter interception in the league. And in one-score games, and this speaks a lot, in one-score game, Herbert has 13 fourth quarter interceptions. 13 fourth quarter interception in one score game. By far the most. In the second will be only 8. Herbert gives you the numbers. He has a size, but when the game is on the line, when it's money time so far, Herbert very rarely delivers. He's actually been the worst in the league, which explains the lack of success for the Chargers. He's been in the league 4 years, only 1 playoff game, 0 playoff win. So far, Herbert's been empty calorie when it matters.
Yeah, I was shocked by this stat that I saw after their loss. He has 28 losses as a starting quarterback since getting drafted in 2020. That's the most by any starting quarterback in that time span.
No, what?
Yes. Because think about all the other teams that have more losses than that. They've had multiple starting quarterbacks, right? No other quarterback has had more losses since 2020 as a starter.
Yeah.
28 losses. Yes, that is absolutely true. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're not, other teams are way worse than the Chargers, but they have had multiple starting quarterbacks. So there's not one quarterback that's racked up more than 28 losses except for him.
I was hyping this man up like crazy at the beginning of the season. Olu, you want to say something about him?
And I would say this. Okay, let's take Mac Jones for example. He has an excuse. All right, I don't have weapons. I don't have this. I don't have that. Justin Herbert has no excuse. He has elite weapons. Elite. Okay,
and an offensive play caller.
And a running back. He has it all. He just doesn't have that killer instinct. Okay, in the military, right? We all know the Navy SEAL is elite, right? Justin Herbert is the National Guard.
Okay,
my God. There's nothing wrong with the National Guard. But
we love, first of all, number one, we love our armed servicemen, our National Guard. We love you. We salute you. We thank you.
He's a reserve. He's the reserve.
We love our reserves.
We also love our reserves. We also love our reserves. Thank you.
But all I'm trying to say is he just doesn't have that killer instinct. Like he doesn't like he has an arm. Don't get me wrong. He has prototypical build. He has everything you want from your quarterback. But there's just that missing. That
okay. Let me ask you guys this question: who would you rather take, Justin Herbert or Tony Romo?
Oh wow, that is a good one. So Tony Romo actually was pretty clutch.
Yes,
he was.
Tony Romo.
He had a
remember when he bobbled? Remember when he bobbled that snap?
I know, but that one moment lived with him for years.
Yeah.
But in general, he was actually very clutch. He just never.
I remember a game where the Cowboys were playing the Broncos, and the score was like 50-50, and Romo had thrown like 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns. No interceptions, and then in the fourth quarter, his last drive, he threw an interception. But so wait, so Will or Shed? Olu, you would take Tony Romo over Justin Herbert. Will, Shed, who would you take?
Romo for me.
I would take Herbert just from the standpoint of I've seen a longer career with Romo, and I'm hoping that Herbert will turn it around. So
I would take Herbert.
That's the only reason I take Herbert.
Okay, last one I'll ask you. Okay.
I have a comp for Justin Herbert. Drew Bledsoe.
Oh, interesting.
That's a dead ringer. They prototypical build. They got the arm talent, everything. Drew Bledsoe. That's his
I was
comp.
going to ask you guys this one. That's a good comp. I was going to ask you this. How about this one? Justin Herbert or Joe Flacco?
Oh, Herbert.
Oh, Herbert. Come on. That's disrespectful.
Hey, I'm just saying Flacco got a Super Bowl, okay?
He had a magical run, and Beyonce played the halftime show, and that's why the Ravens were able to win that Super Bowl.
Let's keep moving. Olu, biggest takeaway from Week 7.
Whenever Justin Herbert beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, then I'll choose him. Until then, I'm going with Flacco.
That's your new favorite player, Patrick Mahomes. Olu, biggest takeaway from Week 7.
Whew, okay. Wow. The biggest takeaway is Lamar Jackson literally just put the league on notice.
Yes.
He put the league. So we all knew Lamar Jackson is talented, great runner, great playmaker, with a high ceiling. I think he just moved the ceiling of what his ceiling can be way higher. I don't know if did you guys watch that game?
He was balling, man. He was balling.
They
he was
destroyed the Lions.
and forget the stats. We could talk about 27 attempts for 21 completions, 357 yards, 3 TDs. We can talk about that. No, that's not what I'm interested in. It's the way he played the game. He didn't run. He ran some, but his objective was not to run. Whenever he's being rushed, he runs, resets his feet, and throws. And I was like, whoa, that is dangerous if Lamar can do that. He kept doing that. Like he kept evading the
Yeah.
rush and doesn't normally he evade the rush and takes off. He doesn't take off. He resets his feet and he was dicing the offense up. He did not run. And he found 9 different receivers. He went to option 1, option 2, option 3, came right back, dump it off, running back. And then I was like, what is Lamar? Then he would stand and take the when he's being pressured. He stands in front of the pressure, flicks his wrist, deliver the ball. And I'm watching like, oh my gosh, he's putting the league on notice. If he can play that way day to day, and I think that was the goal for them coming to this season to really work it. They know, okay, you can run. We know that. Why don't you steady? Like he's number one in PPF passing quarterback. He has number one grade overall quarterback right now. And when you watch him play, you see like, man, this guy is dangerous because he's attacking you with a passing, and make no mistake, this guy is the best runner. So you have that in the back of your mind, but he's dicing you up, and then when he runs, you're in trouble. So it's almost like I've heard the word "do a threat, do a threat, do a threat." To me, that doesn't really much because people, oh, Lamar is playing the same way Deshaun Watson was drafted to play like that. He never did. That's what Lamar played like on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yeah,
He's
on
balling, man. I
Sunday.
mean, he's. I think he's trying to get another. Well, I don't want to say I think he's trying. Of course, everyone wants to get an MVP, but
Yeah.
I mean, the way he played on Sunday, what was it? 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. I think he rushed maybe 10 times. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like it wasn't. I don't even think he rushed for over 50 yards. I think it was like under 40, just under 40. But I mean, he's doing it though. He is balling,
Right.
and he's the chemistry. Zay Flowers, it's working. Mark Andrews, it's working.
He was spreading the ball like his name was Tom Brady. Like,
Any
bro,
chance we get,
your favorite quarterback?
any chance we get, right?
Let's keep it moving. Will, biggest takeaway from week 7.
All right, I'm going to change mine here. I was going to talk about Dante Foreman because that man just flat delivers when he's the starting running back. Doesn't matter the team. But here's more importantly and more wide-reaching. Arthur Smith is the menace of fantasy football. This man, as soon as you think that you have a viable, reliable player on the Falcons, the one week that you really start to lean in, something goes crazy and they do nothing. So this man, like the first 3 weeks of the season, they did not do anything for Drake London or Kyle Pitts. Just didn't throw the ball to them. Jonnu Smith and Mac Hollins were better fantasy players for a while. And then this past Sunday, he fails to put on the injury report that Bijan Robinson has some sort of illness. The man was on the field. He was standing on the field in formations and not getting the ball. And he got asked about it at halftime, Arthur Smith, and he says, oh, Bijan's just not feeling all too well. I'm like, what? That ruined so many teams' fantasy weeks. This man is a menace. He could not care less about getting his star players the ball when it counts. So that's my takeaway from week 7.
I read that DraftKings is refunding people's parlays that had Bijan Robinson in their parlay because of, like, the NFL is investigating now because he was not on any sort of injury report at all.
Yeah.
But he could have gotten hurt. I mean, he could have gotten sick that same day, though.
Then he needs to be on the injury report as ill.
Right, because you report that before the game. Like right before the game, they report the final injuries. Yeah, that was wild.
It was. I definitely, I know many of our listeners, myself included, I started Bijan Robinson in a league and got 0.3 points. which is probably better than those who started Deshaun Watson this past week. Anyways,
Yes.
my biggest takeaway from week 7, I think this is the first time we've talked about him. Jackson Smith and Jigba JSN.
He's here.
So they say that rookie wide receivers after the bye week, that's when you start to see the production. Jackson Smith and Jigba had the opportunities and took advantage of it this past week. I am happy and I'm very glad to see that they're finally starting to utilize him. His usage has gone up over the last few weeks since their bye week. And this past week, he had he finally had, I don't even know if we should call it a breakout game, but he scored his first touchdown of his NFL career, which is great. But last week he had 7 targets. The week before that, 5 targets. He's had 4 catches in each of those games. He's starting to trend in the right direction. His first couple weeks, he was used very close to the line of scrimmage. Week 1, 3 catches for 13 yards. Week 5, 5 catches for 34 yards. Week 3, 1 catch for 10 yards. Week 4, 3 catches for 5 yards. What the heck is that? But then since the bye week, 4 catches for 48 yards, 4 catches for 63 yards. DK was out. They're utilizing him more. I think he's about to start to take. I think he's going to take off any minute now. He's an exceptional route runner. He gets open. Let's not forget, when he was at Ohio State, he outperformed Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in the same offense.
True.
You would have asked them, who's the best wide receiver in this wide receiver room? They would have said Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think right now we're about to see him break out. I'm big on him.
Yeah.
We don't have that segment anymore called Slow Down. JSN is a slow down because nothing has changed really from all the weeks. He still has the same number of targets, about the same 5, 6, 7 targets, and the same number of reception. It just so happens he finally crossed over the threshold of over 50 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, a broken clock is right once a day. So let's slow down. Let's see what happens.
With another beautiful analogy.
Also, remember though, they're playing Arizona Cardinals. So let's slow down and see what happens moving
We'll
forward.
see what happens. Hey, this is what I want you to do, okay? This is what I want you to do, Olu. If Jackson Smith and Jigba has 5 catches for at least 50 yards in your 1 minute of shine, you've got to talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba.
That's not 5 catches.
That's a terrible deal.
No, yeah.
Okay. Let me take that back. Well, he hasn't had that yet. Okay, let's do this.
I need 120. 100.
How many people get 125 yards in a week?
AJ Brown every week.
5 guys in a week? 6 maybe?
Not any rookies.
Tandell did it.
Unless their name's Puka Nacua. Tank, listen, if Jackson Smith and Jigma gets 5 catches for 75 yards, 5 for 75 is good.
125 yards, 1 touchdown. He got me.
You're looking at a group of like 3 or 4 people.
Addison did
AJ
that
Brown, Stephon Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. That's who that is.
No,
Right.
Addison did it last night in the same draft class. Tank Dell has done it also. Same draft class. Why can't he do it?
And Puka.
Okay.
And Puka
All right,
too.
okay. All right, well, when he does, you're talking about him in moment of shine. Let's move on. We spent so much time on this. Okay, week 8. Let's look ahead. Matchups to exploit. Guys that you want to make sure you get in your roster this week. Shed, you're first, man.
All right, so my matchup to exploit is going to be Isaiah Pacheco versus Denver's defense.
Yeah.
This Denver's rush defense is really bad. They're giving up a league worth of 167 rushing yards a game. Yikes. They're allowing opponents to score an average of 31 points a game against them, giving up about 5.5 yards per rushing yards a game, and having allowed 8 rushing touchdowns so far. So that's an average of 1 rushing touchdown a game. So any running back is guaranteed at least 1 score against this defense. On the other hand, you have Pacheco, who is RB8. Chiefs offense is second, just behind, obviously, Miami. And they seem like they're clicking on all cylinders. They seem like the offense seems like it's really getting together now. Pacheco should get some good fantasy points this week, not only on the ground but also in the air as well. Thoughts?
Isaiah Pacheco, get him in the lineup. Get him in the lineup. Olu, how about you, man?
So my matchup to explore, it's C.J. Stroud versus the Carolina Panthers. I think it's going to be a really good matchup. You have the number 1 pick overall in Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud. So that's a motivation factor to show you, oh, you messed up by picking up Bryce Young first. You should have picked me first. So there's that. Also, he has Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who has been out with concussion, is actually coming back to the fold. And DeMarco did say we have a very valuable part of our offense coming back about Tank Dell. So that's really big. So I feel, and they're coming off a bye week. So they're I'm expecting to be clicking all cylinders and really that's a huge matchup, I think, and the motivation. And I expect them to have a big game on that day. So I would say C.J. Stroud versus the Panthers defense.
Yeah, the number 1 versus the number 2 pick, that's intriguing.
Exciting.
And Stroud,
should be exciting.
Stroud is obviously he's got all the motivation to prove y'all made a mistake. Should have taken me number 1. And so far, that's been the case, right?
I like it.
I'm up, right?
Go for it, Will.
All right. Chris Olave versus the Indianapolis Colts. Get this man in your lineup. Don't blink. Don't doubt. Don't worry. I know he's been a little bit up and down this season, but here's why you want him in your lineup for week 8. He has 25 targets over the last 2 games. Derek Carr is clearly not right with the shoulder, but he's looking to Olave all the time. He trusts him tremendously. And then you also have the Colts secondary. They're allowing 27.7 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, and most of those are going to be going to Chris Olave. Start him with confidence.
Well, wait a minute. I would, but wasn't he just arrested yesterday?
Yeah, speeding, reckless speeding. Yeah, but he's going to play. I mean, that's not something you go to jail for.
It's not DUI. Okay.
Gotcha. Start him with confidence? Absolutely. Chris Olave is a baller. My matchup to exploit, and I'm going to have to take a slice of the humble pie because I was not big on Josh Downs. One of the reasons I was not big on him was because he is not big. The guy is 5'9" and $170. That's it. Yeah. He's smaller than me. I would not strike anybody as an NFL football player. He's 5'9", 170. I didn't think the guy had any sort of NFL future. But Josh Downs, this little guy is balling. And I think he's going to start winning people their fantasy weeks. He got that magic number that Olu says JSN needs to have, 5 catches for 125 yards and a touchdown. That was his exact stat line this past week. The man is getting
that's the exact number?
That's his exact number. 6 targets, 5 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. So maybe that should be my moment of shine, right?
Yes.
But he's starting to get more and more targets. Now, granted, a lot of those came off of a busted coverage where he got I think 60 of those yards. But even still, the guy's playing good ball, and they're playing against New Orleans. Part of me wants to say New Orleans is good. The other part of me wants to say New Orleans is terrible because they stunk on, Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football this past week?
Thursday, yeah.
I think Josh Downs, I think Gardner Minshew is going to continue to look his way. I feel great about Josh Downs. I feel great about him. I'm going to pick up some shares of him in DFS because I think he's a matchup to exploit this week. Anyone want to comment on that?
No, he looks legit. He's got the route running, the quickness, great hands. And then he just has a knack for finding the open space, right? That's the thing. And at that size, that's what you've got to be able to do to be successful. And he looks like he's got it.
Yeah. Matchups to avoid. Let's make sure we warn our listeners. We want to help you guys out. Don't play these guys. Sometimes hindsight's 20/20. Obviously, I wish I could tell you last week, don't play Deshaun Watson, okay? But that's injury stuff. But even still, he stunk before that. But matchups to avoid. Make sure you get these guys out of your lineup. Shed, you're up first, like always, man.
So this will be a good week for you to sit Joshua Dobbs. Yes, he started the season playing well,
Every
right?
week is a good week.
Oh, wow.
But he reverted back to the mean. Some people may have had him as a late pick or a late pickup, right? But he reverted back to the mean, right? His last two games versus Seattle and LA, the offense only mustered up 19 total points with Dobbs thrown 0 touchdowns, 1 interception in those two games, and he was sacked 4 times. For the season, the Cardinals are 28th in passing offense, not really warm and fuzzy number as they go against Baltimore's defense this week. Baltimore has only given up 13.9 points, call it 14 points a game, with the second best pass defense in the league, only allowing 4 passing touchdowns so far while garnering 6 interceptions.
Mm.
I mean, anything can happen, but if you've been riding the Dobbs train, this would be a great time to get out because I think he's going to level back down to the mean over here.
What
If
kind
you
of train
if
is this?
if you have been riding the
You never
Dobbs
know.
train, your fantasy team is 2-5 at best.
Where was this train going, bro? Like,
Last 2 or 3 weeks, nowhere.
so then who started the season on the Joshua Dobbs?
Okay. Sit Joshua Dobbs. Yes, good call.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
let's keep going. Olu, matchup to avoid.
Matchups of voice, Howard Taylor versus the Jets. Jets. Whenever the quarterback is playing the Jets, you probably want to look into it to see, unless you're Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, you might want to sit them down because the Jets defense is one of the top 3 defenses in the league. They give most teams a hard time. They beat the Jets just beat what's it called? The Eagles.
Right.
The Eagles
They intercepted Hurts 3 times.
them down. So if they could do that to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, what do you think they would do to Tyrod Taylor and the Giants? So you might want to just sit him down. I know he's doing well. He's running the ball. He'll be a good fantasy quarterback if he's not playing the Jets. So just for this week, just hold off. Go get C.J. Strauss and just save him from next week. So you might want to leave him off your roster.
I mean, hey,
If you're riding,
that's a decent take because I had to start Tyrod in my super flex spot, and he actually helped me get a win.
You
He
did
had a
really good.
great fantasy week as a spot starter.
so we're warning our listeners: get off the Josh Dobbs train and get off
Yep.
the Tyrod Taylor train.
Right. No, don't sleep on Tyrod Taylor. He's actually a good fantasy because he has legs. He runs, and he gives the Giants a dimension they don't otherwise have. So otherwise he'll be good in fantasy, just not next week.
No, the Giants had that dimension with Daniel Jones. The man rushed for 700.
Jones,
Yeah.
right? He had the
But
fifth
the
most
dimension
rushing
he gives
yards,
them is he's not throwing interceptions. That's the dimension he gives them.
and he doesn't fumble the ball. All right, I'm going to give the listeners one that you have this guy in your starting lineup, but get him out this week. It's Marquise Brown. It's again the Cardinals playing the Ravens. So Hollywood has had a good season overall, but he started to slip the last few weeks. He only has 18 targets over the last 2 games combined. That's low for being a wide receiver 1, and only has 83 receiving yards and no touchdowns total the last 2 weeks. So 18 targets, 83 receiving yards, no touchdowns in 2 games. And then he's finished outside the top 40 in each of those 2 weeks. In addition to that, they're playing the Ravens, and their defense, as we saw and talked about, just demolished the Lions, who we thought was a top 3 offense in the league. So do not start Marquise Brown. You'll want to start Josh Downs over him, right? Or probably one of these other rookies, JSN, if Metcalf is out. I think they'll be a better start this week over Hollywood.
That's a juicy one.
Yeah,
That's a
he's
good
been
one.
good. He's been good, but the last 2 weeks he started slipping, and they're playing an elite defense, so you don't want him in week 8.
Yeah, if we're getting off the Josh Dobbs train, we might as well get off the Marquise Brown train as well.
Just get off the Cardinals train.
Yeah.
No
definitely
one-
on the
No one
Make
on
sure
the
you don't get
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
I'm going to say avoid Javonte Williams this week. Now, the past 2 weeks, some of these numbers may sound a little deceiving. In that last week, he averaged 5.47 a carry, and the week before that, 5.2 a carry. You might be thinking, that sounds pretty good, Matt. Well, he also only ran the ball 15 times and 10 times. This week, he plays against the Kansas City Chiefs, the same team he lost to 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And in that game, he rushed 10 times for 52 yards and didn't catch a pass. Now, here's the thing you've always got to see with fantasy football. some players are matchup proof, but the Denver Broncos are so bad and are playing a team that is so good that if this game gets out of hand, what happens to the run game for Denver? They abandon the run game. And then how relevant is Javonte Williams at that point in time, especially since they have that other running back that's an excellent pass catcher. Javonte Williams, he might not have much in the game script. He might not have many opportunities in this game. I'm going to say do not play Javonte Williams. I'm going to go against my own advice, though, in one of my leagues because all my running backs are getting decimated, and I have no choice but to play them. But I'm warning you guys, Javonte Williams will not be helpful this week in your fantasy football.
Sorry, Shed.
What happened to Javonte Williams? God, I mean, he was supposed to be.
He's not healthy.
No, nothing happened. It's his first year back from an ACL tear. No, not just an ACL tear. It was like an ACL and an LCL or something like that. And listen, here's the thing about these guys. Whenever they first come back, you've got to have a lot of grace. They're not going to be who they were. It takes a good year or so, and his injury was so bad. It wasn't a clean tear like Breece Hall's. Breece Hall's was a very clean tear. This was a terrible one. I think he might have tore 3 ligaments. I don't know. Somebody could fact check me on that. But the fact that he's even playing, I would say would put him in the running for comeback player of the year, but we all know who that's going to be. It's going to be DeMar Hamlin because that's the game script for the NFL. Glad he's back. But I don't think anything happened. He's just recovering.
Okay, we'll see.
Think about this. Here's an example. Prime example. Olu's going to love this one. Saquon Barkley 2 years ago. First year back from the ACL tear. Trash. Saquon Barkley last year.
Elite.
Top 5 rusher in the league.
Right.
It takes a good year to come back.
That's fair.
Where are they playing? Where are they playing?
Who? Oh, they're playing
Denver.
at home.
Yeah, it's in Denver.
At home.
Yep.
In Denver.
That factors in.
You think so?
I think it's a new from the way they played. I just refuse to believe that Denver would not have a bounce back period. They can't be this way all through the year. It's just.
I think they can. I think they can be this way.
It can't be this bad.
Their defense is pretty bad. I mean, their defense is really bad. Like, unfortunately.
And Russell Wilson has lost it, man. Unfortunately.
That will change the season. Maybe this is it. There has to be one.
Olu, do you have a bold take on this game? Do you have a bold take?
I just believe the Broncos they will have a bounce back game. If it's next
against Kansas City,
that's why it's called a bold bounce back game. There has to be one. I just refuse to believe Russell can be this bad or Peyton can be this bad of a coach.
All right, let's move on to debate time. What we're going to do, this is unscripted. We have no idea how each person's going to lean on these takes, but what we're going to do is I'm going to give 2 quarterbacks, and I'm going to give 2 running backs. I'm going to give 2 wide receivers, and we're going to talk about who we think of those individuals will finish the season as a better fantasy player. Okay, so this is what I got for you guys. Number 1, I'd like to hear from you guys. Who do you think, which of these quarterbacks will finish the season as a better fantasy player? Lamar Jackson or Tua Tagovailoa? Now, here's a little point of reference. Let me help you guys out a little. Lamar is currently quarterback number 4, has 1,610 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's completing 71% of his passes.
Huh.
Okay, 1,610 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's carried the ball 69 times for 363 yards and another 5 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Tua is the number 5 quarterback in the league right now, and he is leading the league in passing yards with 2,092 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So basically twice the amount of touchdowns and twice the amount of interceptions. He has also completed 71% of his passes. So each of these quarterbacks has completed the same percentage of passes. But obviously, Tua don't run the ball. 15 carries for 18 yards. Okay, so which of these guys do you think will end the year as the better fantasy quarterback?
All right, I know this is not going to be a popular take, but I'm actually going to go with Tua and it's simply because of the offense that they run. He's going to have the passing yards and the touchdowns week after week. Lamar, I worry more with him about some sort of injury knocking him out. Like best case scenario, 2-3 games he might miss with some sort of lower body injury. That's what tends to happen. And I think the Ravens also are a running team, and he's going to take a lot of those yards, but they're also going to get Gus Edwards involved. And as they get Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell healthy, so I'm going to go with Tua. I'm going with Tua for the end of the year.
What you got, Shed? I want to say something, but go for it, Shed.
So it's definitely going to be Lamar because Todd
Lamar.
I'm going definitely go with Lamar because you're talking about the offense with Miami. Ravens got they're clicking, right?
Yes.
Lamar is trending upward and quickly. Todd Monken's offense.
Yes.
It took them a while to kind of get together, but now that they got it together, it looks like maybe they're onto something here. It's figuring out what exactly it is. And here's the thing about Miami. If teams can push Miami around, and teams have shown that they can limit Miami on the field, and that will also limit their pass attack. Miami goal is, when it comes to run the ball, is to get to the outside and to wreak havoc. And against the Eagles, they weren't able to do that. The Eagles pushed them around. And if teams can figure out that type of success, that's going to limit their offense. That's going to limit Tua. And I think Lamar is heading this way, and Tua might be kind of like
hitting a plateau.
kind of yes. So towards the end of the season, I see Lamar.
I'm 100% on the Lamar train for that. Now, and here's why. I mean, quarterbacks with rushing upside, I feel like always have some sort of advantage over the pocket passer in today's NFL. And here's the stat that actually blew my mind. Lamar Jackson's average depth of target is 8.3 yards. Tua's is 8.5. So it's not really that much of a difference. And so I think we think of Tua being this guy who's thrown for 400 more yards, but the reality is that's all yards after the catch that guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are getting. Meanwhile, Lamar is throwing the same depth. And so I think his rushing upside will push him over the edge. Neither of these guys have had a bye week yet, so it's not like one guy has played more games than the other. I think his rushing upside, I mean, each of them is an injury risk, right? I mean, Tua missed games last year. Lamar missed games last year. It's football. It happens. But I'm with Lamar, man. I mean, I love what Tua's doing, but I think that offense is about to take off. Todd Monken, where did he go? Where did he come from? That's right, the University of Georgia. I think
the one and only, the illustrious.
The illustrious University of Georgia, the Ivy League of the South.
Oh, my gosh. No, that's Vanderbilt. Come on.
Bro.
The Ivy League.
Olu, do you have anything on that? Do you think Lamar or Tua?
I'm going with Lamar for every reason God says. Lamar's a playmaker. When Lamar touches the ball, like, he is the offense. He is the offense. And now his receivers are starting to the ball because he was played by the receivers dropping his passes.
Yes.
Now that he's learned to not drop the ball any longer. He can run with the ball. He can pass the ball. So fantasy-wise, I think definitely Lamar is and also is a better fantasy quarterback than Tua. And also with the Ravens offense, they use their running back a lot. The running back is a huge component of their offense. And with the Ravens, Lamar is, I mean, they have running backs, but Lamar is quite the biggest playmaker they have.
So so no one is worried about Lamar missing 2, 3, 4 games because he has not played a full season in 4 years.
Yeah, the difference is his style of play now is absolutely different.
He's less prone to tuck and run.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, wait, let me see something. Hold on.
That to me is what pushes me to Tua. Is that I think Tua is more likely to play 17 games, and obviously he's going to keep putting up stats, pushing himself to the top of the fantasy rankings. I predict Lamar's going to miss a couple games, and that will hurt his overall finish.
Well, here this is interesting. So designed runs. Lamar has rushed 69 times. 39 of them were designed runs. 30 of them were scrambles. So it's not as if they're designing all the times that he runs. I think that's important to note. 200 of his yards. No. Yeah.
Hold on. You said he's run the ball 69 times through 7 games.
He's run the ball 69
So
times,
10
but only
times a game.
39 of those were but only 39 of those were designed. So it's not as if they're asking him to run the ball as much as he is. So I think it's going to be dialed back, but at the same time, he's going to take advantage of that. We're going to see him rush for 100 yards a few times because the guy is that fast. I love where he's at right now.
And did you?
I love the balance.
And Matt, you had said something that really struck me with the stats. You said he's 71% completion percentage.
That's amazing.
They're both 71%. Yeah. They're both 71%.
Right,
Tor is 71.2 and Lamar is 71. But PFF wise, Lamar is the highest rated in PFF in passing.
Yeah.
And then
let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. How about these two running backs? I'm gonna give you guys two running backs. One guy who everyone was high on at the beginning of the season, but okay, Kenneth Walker, who has, or let's just say it, Kenneth Walker or Tony Pollard. Okay, Kenneth Walker or Tony Pollard. Kenneth Walker currently has run the ball 109 times for 450 yards. He's averaging 4.1 a carry and has 6 touchdowns. He's caught 13 passes for 106 yards off of 16 targets. All right. And then Tony Pollard has carried the ball 96 times for 370 yards at 3.9 a pop for only 2 touchdowns. However, he's caught the ball 25 times for 176 yards. Neither have a receiving touchdown. Kenneth Walker is currently the running back 8. Tony Pollard's currently the running back 12. Each of them has already had their bye week. Kenneth Walker has taken 66% of snaps. Tony Pollard, 70% of his snaps.
It's an easy
Obviously,
one.
at the beginning of the season, I think many people were higher on Tony Pollard. Are you still at this point? Who would you rather have, Kenneth Walker or Tony Pollard? Go for it. Just jump in.
Yeah, I'll go with Kenneth Walker. It's easy, you know. If we think about the what they call Seattle, they're decisive. They're decisive in the run game. They just go for it. And Kenneth Walker is a decisive runner, and he's a ultimate 3-down back. Tony Pollard is not a 3-down back. He's a finesse. He's a finesse guy. Zeke Elliott was the 3-down back. Tony Pollard was just you come in the good 1-2 punch. However, now you have Tony Pollard trying to carry the 3-down back position, which is not built for that. So I'll go with Kenneth Walker any day. And then when you get to the red zone, Kenneth Walker is a threat to punch it in. That's not Tony Pollard's skill set.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and piggyback on that because I'm gonna say Kenny Walker because the formula, just in general, the formula against the Cowboys, if you pound the rock against them, if you put up points early, put them behind, you'll force them to throw the ball, which will limit Pollard's ability to run the ball on the rushing side, and then that's gonna limit on the rushing side as well. And also to your point, Olu, is that the Seahawks, they are decisive. They're focused more on Walker than on Charbonnet. Charbonnet hasn't made the most of his opportunity, which means more focus on Walker. And I know that Will alluded to this before, but as the trade deadline is nearing and Tennessee is looking like sellers, they are sellers, King Henry could be in the mix, and Dallas would be an interesting landing spot for him, further limiting Pollard's upside.
I could see that happening.
No, I'm predicting King Henry either to the Ravens or the Vikings. I think they're much more desperate for running back help. Yeah, I'm
the
predicting
Vikings
that.
Will trade again for another running back in the same season.
Yes, Cam Akers is not it. He is not it. Okay, so little. Now on this debate, I got to go with my man Tony Pollard. And our opening episode 0, back at the end.
You gotta stand by him.
I said he's gonna be the RB1 overall, and I'm still rolling with that. I think for the Seahawks, they're gonna implement Charbonnet more and more as the season goes along because they like to have 2 running backs. They really like the 1A, 1B. They used to have that with Chris Carson.
They drafted him high.
Yeah, they drafted Charbonnet high, and Tony Pollard is it on the Cowboys. They have no other running back to speak of, and I think the receiving upside that he brings is what's going to help him have the higher fantasy finish. So
you're not a Deuce Vaughn fan?
I'm not a fan of a 5'5" running back. No, I'm Pollard all the way.
I love Kenneth Walker. I really do. I like Kenneth Walker a lot, and I think the stat that stands out to me the most is the forced missed tackles. Kenneth Walker has 32 forced missed tackles. Tony Pollard has 7.
Dang. What about yards after contact, though?
Oh, man. Yards after contact per attempt, Kenneth Walker's at 3. Tony Pollard at 2.57. So
okay.
I think I'm big. I'm big on Kenneth Walker. I like him a lot. And that's coming from a guy who really likes Zach Charbonnet. But, like, the way Kenneth Walker is playing right now, you've got to keep him on the field. He's hot. I think Tony Pollard has the potential to have more big games. But at the course of the season, I think Kenneth Walker, I think he's going to be a more consistent running back. I think he'll outperform him by the end of the year. But lastly, let's go to receivers, guys. Okay, these guys, this is a tough one. Who would you rather have, and who do you think, or better yet, who do you think will have the better season? Who do you think will be rated higher by the end of the season? Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown? Now, Jamar Chase is currently wide receiver number. Get these numbers. Jamar Chase is wide receiver number 8, has 50 receptions for 556 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 51 catches, 557 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Amon-Ra has 1 more catch for 1 more yard and the same amount of touchdowns.
So he's wide receiver 7, I'm assuming?
Amon-Ra is wide receiver number 9.
Oh, he's lower than Chase? Chase is 8?
It must be because of a rush or something like that. It's got to
be a running play.
It must be because of a rush. Now, each of them has played the same amount of games. Jamar Chase has had a bye week, whereas Amon-Ra St. Brown missed a week because of an injury. So it's not as if one guy has played one game more than the other. However, if they both stay healthy, Jamar Chase will have played 1 more game than Amon-Ra St. Brown. So the question here is, who would you rather have, or who do you think will end the season as a higher fantasy player? Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra?
I know what Shed's
you got to stand by your guy. Shed, you got to stand by your guy.
Absolutely. St. Brown, no doubt. St. Brown gives you – here's the thing about St. Brown. He gives you, from a fantasy perspective, a low end. His low end is about 20 fantasy points per game in PPR leagues. Chase has had 2 12-point or less fantasy games, right? And Chase would not even be in the discussion had it not been for that one game, Arizona, where he exploded for 3 touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns in the whole year, 3 touchdowns in Arizona. Touchdowns before Arizona game, 0. Touchdown after Arizona game, 0. St. Brown has been more consistent, and he will end up being a better fantasy guy.
Ooh. Anyone else?
Because the Bengals started out real slow in the beginning.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was hurt. Their play, and then Jamar Chase saying, "I'm always hoping." I'm always hoping. So in their slow period, it still has almost the same number as Amari St. Brown. Now they're picking up scheme. So once they hit the throttle and accelerate, you can't stop this man. And with Detroit and Jared Goff, he loves to spread the ball. So you don't know who's going to go up that week. But with the Bengals, we know Jamar Chase will get the ball. So I will go with Jamar Chase.
You're going Jamar? Listen, man. I think it's wild we're even having this debate because Jamar Chase was like a top 3 fantasy pick this season.
I know.
Don't get me wrong. You can't go wrong with Amon-Ra, but I'm going Amon-Ra St. Brown over Jamar Chase, and I can't believe I'm saying that because right now, here's the thing. Yes, Detroit did not play well this past week, but outside of that, Detroit has been balling. And who else is Jared Goff going to throw the ball to? Yes, I know Jared Goff is playing some good football, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is his guy. The guy's getting targets. The guy's getting catches. I'm down with Amon-Ra. I like the sun god. I believe in him. I think he could finish the season as a better receiver than Jamar Chase. I love Jamar Chase, but I'm taking Amon-Ra, okay? I can't get behind the Bengals offense, man. Yeah. They haven't done it yet. They haven't done it consistently.
All right, I'm siding with Olu. It's Jamar all the way. You asked, who is Jared Goff going to throw the ball to? Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, increasingly Jamison Williams. I think they're going to get these guys more and more involved. And then on the other side with the Bengals, slow start. They're ramping up. T. Higgins he's been hurt. Joe Mixon does nothing as a receiver. They don't have a tight end to speak of, right? Irv Smith's not getting it done. I think all this volume is going to Jamar Chase the rest of this year. He's going to finish as the better overall player. I have no doubt.
T. Hiddens. That's what we should call him. He's done
Hiddens.
nothing. He's done nothing for our fantasy teams. I mean, hey, I'm going with the Sun God, but let's move on. Let's move on, guys. Last segment.
Here it is.
Our favorite segment. We hope that you guys have been following us. This is our single game mock draft. We end every episode with this. This is fun for us. We hope it's fun for you. Every week, what we do is we draft players from the upcoming Thursday night football game. We do not draft quarterbacks. We draft only running backs, receivers, and tight ends. Standard PPR scoring. We've been doing this every week since week 2. And to date, so far, Olu is in first place. We always give Olu a hard time for his pick. But Olu's in first place with 180 fantasy points. Shed is in second with 155.8. Will is in third, 129.3. And yours truly, I'm starting to make the comeback, 115.1. Thank you, Travis Etienne, for putting me back in the game.
Next week, you get a shine if you hit the magic number of 125.
Listen. I was looking already at next week because next week I picked number 1. And last time I picked number 1, I got to pick from that amazing game of the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears. Next week is another great game for me.
What's next week's game?
Oh man, it was another bad one. I was looking at it and I was like, you got to be kidding me. How does this work out like this all the time for you, Matt Weber? Next week's Thursday night game is the Titans and the Steelers.
Oh, that hurts. That's rough.
I feel like pick number 1, I'm going to be saying what Olu said that one time.
This week's better though, right? This week
nobody left.
Buccaneers, Bills.
This week is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Buffalo Bills. This is a stacked game. Buffalo. We got players to choose from. And Will, you are up first with the first pick of the draft.
Oh, this is an easy one for me. Playing at home in Buffalo, give me Stephon Diggs.
Oh, wow.
Playmaker extraordinaire. No doubt. No hesitation.
That might have been the easiest pick. And I was really hoping you'd try to get cute.
No, that's easy. That's easy.
Well, I'm going to take the next easiest pick. Say it with me, guys. Mike Evans. That's who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Mike Evans. Olu says future Hall of Famer is who I'm going to take. The guy who's gotten over 1,000 yards every season of his career. Give me Mike Evans.
Easy choice. Good choice.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to go with you could go 2 or 3 different directions here. I'm going to go with James Cook.
Oh,
he had a great week. He had a great week last week.
He did. I was tempted to take him at 2. I was tempted to take him.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a good one. Wow, that was a good one. Shit. I was hoping you were going to go with the tight end, but I have to go with tight end now. Dalton Kincaid.
Really?
I was hoping he'd come back around.
Kincaid.
Well, he's got the turn. Olu has the turn though.
Yeah. You got 2 in a row now.
Oh, okay.
Come on, it's got to be.
I mean, it's not as obvious as you think because Baker and Chris Godwin don't have good chemistry, but I'll go with Chris Godwin.
That is very true. But Olu does like to make sneaky plays and draft guys.
He does.
We don't know of.
Oh man, I'm going to. Dalton Kincaid's gone. Okay, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take him, but he's gone. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go for Boomer Bust here with Gabe Davis. So like that's probably my best bet here. Yeah,
he is the most Boomer Bust player in fantasy, I think. Because you're either gonna get 27 points or 3 points. Nothing.
What about Ridley? Ridley's kind of Boomer Bust.
He's just bust at this point.
Yeah.
He had one boom. He's just bust. There's no over with Ridley.
Oh, gosh.
Matt has there's a couple options here.
There really is. I'm not gonna lie. There are actually a few options here. I mean, no. I'm gonna say there is a few options here, y'all.
Yeah, there's bodies.
Who? Like, there's no.
There's Rachaad White, and then there's Deontay Hardy.
Oh my gosh! Do not do that to yourself.
Matt,
Listen,
we're talking about getting cute.
And
I gotta get out.
Punt
I gotta
return.
make sneaky plays, which is why I'm gonna take. No, I'm gonna take Rachaad White.
You guys are probably better at taking Kate Alton than anybody there.
Rachaad White. Gosh, I was hoping you would do something sneaky and leave him for me. Oh my gosh, this is rough. Okay. Here's what I'm banking on with this pick. I'm banking on Baker being shook, playing in Buffalo, cold weather, Bills. Bills defense actually is starting to slip because they've had so many injuries, like season-ending injuries. So I'm going to hope that Baker looks for the short yardage, middle of the field, and I'm going to take Cade Otton. That's the only one left. I'm not taking Latavius
Who used his Jedi mind trick on you?
I'm not taking Latavius Murray, and there's no one else. I'm not taking Trey Palmer for this.
You know what? I will say this. Most weeks, it seems like we leave out a very important person because we think he might not play. Like, nobody picked David Montgomery the week he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Nobody took stinking Christian Kirk last week when he had a touchdown.
Crazy.
All these yards. Watch Latavius Murray get like 3 goal line touchdowns, okay? Because no one drafted him.
He will. I saw the most ridiculous stat line I've ever seen, and this could be a Latavius Murray stat line, was Jerome Bettis in like 2007 or something.
2004.
He had 5 carries for 1
yard
and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I remember that.
1 total yard, but 3 touchdowns. Just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
It was week 1 of 2004.
2004.
Who's that?
Gosh.
Who's that?
Jerome Bettis.
That was Jerome Bettis.
1 total touchdown.
No,
1 total
yard.
1 yard, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Oh, he lost yards.
Well, and he was only getting the ball at the goal line. That was like one of his last seasons.
And he lost yards on the other 2, I'm guessing.
So anyways, let me round it up. Let me summarize everything from our single game mock. Will is sitting pretty with Stephon Diggs and Cade Otton. I have Mike Evans and Rachaad White. Please don't let me down, Tampa Bay. Shed is sitting with James Cook and Gabe Davis, while Olu has Dalton Kincaid and Chris Godwin. We'll see how this turns out next week. We look forward to coming back at you. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, your co-hosts, Matt, Shed, Olu, and Will. We look forward to sharing our takes and our fun, exciting stuff with you next week at the 4 Wide Fantasy Football Podcast. We hope you have a great day. See you later.